In today's episode, I'm going to show you 10 ways you can use Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power right now. This is Bulcha Dalal from Wiser Thinking. Learning how to use power will be very helpful in all the relationships you have in your life. The first law: never outshine the master. If you work under the supervision of somebody and you're more talented and educated than they are, you have to be very careful. You don't want to be displaying all your talents and traits just in case it brings up any insecurities for your supervisor. It's human nature to have your insecurities around someone who tends to be better than you. It's just human nature. If you work under the supervision of someone and you're more talented and educated than them, be very careful in how you display your talents around them. Because whenever we're around someone who's better than us, we can't help but feel insecure. It's human nature. So when working under someone, be very careful in not outshining them. Because if you were to outshine the supervisor, that'll only lead to them building resentment. That supervisor is going to be thinking that you're trying to make them seem incompetent around his peers. I had a friend who went into car sales and he just graduated from his Bachelor of Commerce. This friend was very charming and had amazing social skills. So this car sales job was very easy for him and he was having a blast with it. However, a lot of his peers and superiors didn't have the same background or education as him. As a result, they felt kind of incompetent around him, or maybe they had insecurities. Regardless, they just ended up teasing him because of his Bachelor of Commerce education and his talents. And as a result, my friend didn't feel comfortable working this car sales job, not because of the demanding aspects of the job, but because of his peers and superiors. Now, the way not to outshine your master takes a few tricks. One of those tricks is to discreetly flatter them. Another trick is to make your superiors seem intelligent. And you can do this by asking them questions in their area of expertise, or whenever you have ideas, make it seem that it came from them and not you. Now on to the next law, which is Law 4. Always say less than necessary. When you control what you say, people won't easily know your intentions or your meaning. Let people talk more than you, and you will get all the information you need to understand them. But with your silence, they can't understand you. If you just talk freely and you're an open book, people will use what you said against you. And if you're not backing up what you're saying, then people will call you a hypocrite. You are putting yourself at saying something foolish. One of my favorite examples of people who follow this law are Drake and The Weeknd. Drake and The Weeknd rarely do interviews because they understand the value of silence. And whenever they do an interview, people will stop and listen to what they have to say. And for the competitors for Drake and The Weeknd, it's hard for them to know what they're working on or who they're working with since they say so little. And another thing about Drake and The Weeknd is they don't get themselves into too many scandals because they don't say much to get themselves in trouble. And remember this one moral saying by Publius Syrus: I have often regretted my speech, but never my silence. Law number 9. Win through your actions, never through your arguments. One thing you have to remember about arguments is people will interpret what you're saying based on their moods and insecurities. In the heat of an argument, people will say anything to support their cause, like religious texts and unverifiable statistics. But with actions, it's more powerful and meaningful. Generally, there's no misinterpretation when it comes to your actions. Let me tell you a story that will augment this law. Nikita Khrushchev was giving a speech to an audience denouncing the crimes of Stalin. Then a heckler yelled out asking, "Weren't you a colleague of Stalin? Then why didn't you stop him?" Nikita Khrushchev was trying to say who said that comment, and he blurted out, "Who said that?" And the audience was quiet. No one moved a muscle. Then Nikita Khrushchev looked at the audience and told them, "Now you know why." Nikita Khrushchev realized it was useless to argue about why he didn't stop Stalin, but instead he made them feel why. And that feeling surmounts any arguments he could have thought of. Nikita Khrushchev realized that it was useless to argue why he didn't stop Stalin, but instead he made them feel like what it was like to face Stalin. And with that feeling of fear, the audience was able to interpret the message clearly and perfectly. And there's a quote from Baltasar Gracian that really encompasses this law. The truth is generally seen, rarely heard. Now on to Law 10. Avoid the unhappy and the unlucky. I'm sure you heard the research where you're the average of your 5 closest friends. Well, in this law, it really talks about how we're susceptible to the moods, the thinking, and the ideas of the people that we surround ourselves with. People who are unhappy and unstable leave a strong impression on us because their personalities and emotions are so intense. Unlucky and unhappy people tend to make themselves the victim. They never look at themselves and see themselves as the problem. And no matter how much time and help you give them, they'll never change. And the worst part, the more time you spend with these people, the more they will infect you with their unlucky and unhappy ways. For example, I used to work with an individual where they always saw themselves as the victim. They are unhappy with their relationships at work, unhappy with their relationships at home, but no matter what, this individual never saw herself as the problem. It was always either her husband or her boss or her co-workers. She always saw other people as the problem and never herself. She was always the victim. And no matter how much time people spent in helping her, how much time they gave her just to comfort her, she never changed. And these people are everywhere, so be very careful with how you spend your time with them. Law 18. Do not build fortresses to protect yourself. Isolation is dangerous. When you are isolating yourself, you are cutting yourself off from the potential the world can give you. In isolation, it becomes an echo chamber because you only hear the ideas from yourself or your close circle. Without any exposure to the world, your ideas become stale and ineffective. You must not only be open to ideas, but also open to meeting new people. With that mobility, you can build multiple relationships that can help you in your time of need. Like that cheesy / common saying, your net worth is based on your network. And achieving a great network does not require you to isolate yourself. Law 21. Play a sucker to catch a sucker. Seem dumber than your mark. This law comes into place when you're dealing with someone who's trying to sell you something. If you give the vibe to these salespeople that they're smarter than you, they will feel intellectual superiority and they won't feel threatened. Then, when they least expect it, you can throw them off with your knowledge. And this is where they feel insecure. As Nassim Taleb says, people feel deep anxiety finding out that someone they thought was stupid is actually more intelligent than they are. I can attest to this law because I went car shopping with a buddy who played a lot dumber than he was when he was dealing with a salesperson. The sales guy was trying to make a quick buck with a car that had some serious issues, but didn't bring this information up with my friend when he was looking into the car. So my friend got one of his personal mechanics to check the car and found out the serious issues in it. And then when he went to the salesperson, not only telling him the information about what was actually wrong with the car, but giving him a lot more information with the car in general, with the warranty and the cost, the salesperson was in shock. And when my friend required a significant discount on the vehicle, the salesperson had to give in because he knew my friend was going to use the savings from the car to pay for the repairs. Law 25. Recreate yourself. You have the power to be whoever you want. You have to remember, your personality was shaped by your upbringing, your parents, your friends, and peers. However, like an artist, you can change yourself. But to get to that, you must first be self-conscious. Take control of your appearance and your emotions. If you just wear your heart on your sleeve, people will get annoyed with you and think that you're just trying to get attention. You have to have great self-control and be adaptable to the situation, instead of being jerked around by your emotions. With this self-consciousness, you can recreate yourself into someone who's more memorable and different from the average Joe. And whenever you have to play different roles with people, you can do that due to your self-consciousness and self-creation, which is never stagnant. And remember, when it comes to recreating yourself, this can be done physically, like working out, mentally, like reading a wide variety of books, even spiritually, by going back to your religious texts. By exposing yourself to change in different ways, you will have the versatility to play many roles and adapt to the situation. Law 28. Enter action with boldness. It's natural to avoid tension and conflict. However, you can't get what you want in life if you're timid. With boldness, you gain attention by making people feel less conscious. Instead of people being focused on themselves, they're going to be gazing at you. Boldness never induces embarrassment or awkwardness. People love to be around bold individuals because bold individuals infect the crowd with their self-confidence, and they take the crowd's attention away from themselves and insecurities. Think of all the captivating speakers that grab your attention. With their self-confidence and bold speech, you yourself forget about your insecurities and problems, and you're blown away by these speakers. And you too can cultivate this power just by practicing. So instead of avoiding conflict, err on the side of boldness, and you will be amazed by the benefits. And remember, there's a lot more rewards to being bold than there is for being timid. So I have a friend who follows this law where he errs on the side of boldness. So one day when he had a meeting with his supervisor, and after some discussions with his performance, he asked for a raise. He wasn't expecting one, nor did he even care to get one. But lo and behold, his supervisor found that he was justified in getting a raise and gave him one. It was about 10% extra that he got. And think about it this way, if he just came into that meeting being timid and only came for the purpose of the meeting, which was to discuss his performance, then he would have never gotten that raise. But on erring on the side of boldness, he got that raise because he really had nothing to lose, because after that meeting he was either going to get more money or the same pay that he was happy with. Law 38. Think as you like, but behave like others. If everyone was honest about their beliefs, there would be a lot of hostilities. If you're trying to climb up the ladder or gain a certain position, you have to be able to conceal your honest beliefs for a little while. I'm not saying to never divulge your new ideas, but communicate them in an indirect manner. Because when you challenge people's long-held beliefs, there is going to be backlash. So whenever dealing with people, profess the same values and ideas that they have. They will never know what you truly believe. But if you open your mouth and let everyone know what your beliefs are, especially if they're different, you are going to be isolated. When I started on my path of self-improvement, I remembered always talking about it with my friends and peers. Initially, people were cool with me talking about it, but then they quickly became annoyed. Whenever I was having a conversation about my self-improvement, my friends would either change the topic or just ignore me outright. And as a result, I became isolated from a lot of my friends and peers during that time. So make sure to follow this law, because if you don't, there can be some serious backlash. Law 40. Despise the free lunch. Have you ever heard of the law of reciprocation? So basically, if someone does a favor for you, you can't help but want to do a favor in return. For whatever reason, that's just how the human brain is wired. And sometimes companies and salespeople take advantage of that. Whenever a sales individual wants to offer you coffee, water, or tea, they know about the law of reciprocation. Whatever is offered free usually has strings attached to it. And in this case, when a salesperson offers you a free beverage, you can't help but want to listen and offer your time for this individual. So whenever someone wants to offer you something free, be very careful because there's usually some hidden obligation. So if anybody wants to offer you a favor or gifts, be cautious. Either pay the individual outright for the service or ignore them completely. Then you steer clear from owing anybody nothing. Alright guys, that's it for today. So hopefully you learned how you can use those 10 laws in your life. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe in this video. And until next time, remember guys, let's get wiser.